Yo, what's up gamers? My name is Russ. Welcome back to another commentary. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to play Havoc Demon Hunter in Grimrail Depot. Don't worry, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. And I'm going to be doing that by taking you through my own gameplay, pack by pack, and letting you in on my decision making process, what went well, what didn't, and why I did the things I did. I'm also going to be pointing out any notable things I think my group did, so I can teach you the dungeon as a whole and not just from a Havoc DH point of view. I'm hoping that by the end of the video, you'll go away having learned a thing or two, so in your next Grimrail key, you could be the guy making the plays. So grab yourself a hot or a cold drink. I myself have a nice little cup of tea, and as the key counts down, I'll quickly throw my gear, my talents, my soul binds, all that good stuff up on screen for you, so pause it if you need to. I am playing the Cycle of Hatred raid build, and if you want to see my full video breakdown of this build, including a section on rotation, then I will link it in the pinned comment and also the description of this video if you want to check that one out. So in Grimrail, we want to be taking the crit buff from Shrouded, the broker, and yeah, this first pack, not really too much to do. Obviously I use my pre-meta, so I'm going to get a little bit of value out of that, but I do want to be getting my meta on cooldown as soon as I can really, so I have it back up for the boss. Now in this first pack, there's only really one kick you need to do, that is the Technician. He's going to do kind of like a big chain lightning on someone, which stuns them. So you want to have one kick for that, and then he's going to walk off, as you saw him just do there, over to one of these Iron Stars and do this second cast called Activate. If he finishes that cast, it's going to roll the Iron Star out into the middle of the room, and it's just going to blow up and wipe you straight away. So that is the absolutely essential one, but the 5,000 volts one as well. 50,000 volts, sorry, that one is going to probably one-shot someone, especially on fortified, so you just want to have two kicks on that guy. There's nothing else really to kick in this pack anyway, so if you can't get those, then you're probably doing something wrong. Your tank meanwhile is going to be having these Overseers where he just faces them into the wall and they just keep charging him, so they'll only charge the person that has aggro on them. So if the tank has aggro, they'll just keep charging their tank, so he just kind of backs into a wall and tanks the Infiltrator, which we just kind of cleave down. Well, I think we focus the Infiltrator, kick the Technician, and then the other mobs are kind of trash mobs. This pack is pretty much exactly the same except two Overseers, so they're nothing really to, worry about. We're just making sure that we kick the Technician, and if you don't have kicks, you can of course throw your Imprison on him, you can throw your Fell Eruption on him and things like that just to stun him until maybe kicks come back up in the rest of your group. But as you see, we have 4 kicks and there's only 2 casts anyway, so a pretty easy one to do there. Once this Infiltrator is down and also the Technician, our Priest is actually going to go and pull through the wall because the line of sight is really weird on that wall, and like the little kind of like helter-skelter maze after the first boss is kind of weird with line of sight. So our Priest can actually run over, stand slightly to the left of the door and pull through the door. There is an Infiltrator and Zolgamux, so we're going to pull those and chain these into this pack. And mainly that is just to get these done before the boss rather than afterwards, because this first boss is quite rough and we want those 4 extra stacks on the Shrouded buff. For me, that's like 12% crit. So yeah, having 12% extra crit for the boss is just free damage basically, and we're going to have to kill them either way. So that's a nice little min-max there for you guys. If you take them before the boss, you'll just have more damage on the boss. And since this is a tyrannical key, as I said, the first boss is very, very rough. So yeah, just we're doing Zolgamux the usual way. At this point, I think you know by now, just move out of the purple swirly on the ground. Make sure you do CC the bat. We've had a couple wipes to that nowadays. I've pretty much never seen the bat go off, but when it does, yeah, someone is guaranteed to die, so that kind of sucks. And just go through the blood shield, try and use the defensives or darkness or something on the blood shield. I'm actually saving my darkness for the boss because in 26, 27, this boss really hurts with the slams, especially in the first intermission kind of overlap thing, which I'll talk about when we get there. And once you get into these higher keys, Zolgamux really does have a lot of health, so it does end up taking a lot of time. You want to minimize the damage you take from the blood shield, so you can also do that with blur. If you pop a blur on a blood shield, it's just going to heal a little bit less. Same with our DK putting down anti-magic zone and things like that. And as we go into the boss now, we're just going to be focusing our damage onto the brute. It's not really worth chasing Rocket Spark around when he or she is down on the ground. One thing you got to watch out for is the slam. The slam really hurts, obviously dodging those little red swirlies or circles on the ground. And once the first intermission, when Rocket Spark jumps on the crates, it's going to be a slam overlap here, and we're going to actually immunities this one. This, as far as I could work out from watching VODs back, we wiped to a couple times on a 27 actually. We ended up popping immunities there, because that, as far as I could tell, at least for like 6 or 7 of the intermissions when Rocket Spark is up on the boxes, is the only one where a slam overlaps with the X2 rocket barrage thing that he's doing. So that really hurts. On Tyrannical, the slam is going to absolutely slap you. So what we did is just pop our immunities and all our like personal damage reductions and stuff on that very first slam. So I have Netherwalk, the rogue has evasion because it's physical damage, the hunter has turtle, obviously the tank doesn't take damage because it's blood DK, and the priest I think just popped like a maybe just a big defensive, I guess, or like a desperate prayer or something. I don't know what priests have, but yeah, that's the only one where it's like very dangerous, the slam. Otherwise the slams just come throughout the fight, and they don't, you know, they hurt a lot, so you do need to have people topped up for them. So if you're low and you see a slam coming in, you can use a health potion. You can also blur them, but I tend to save my blur for the intermission part because it lasts a little bit longer. As you see, it does about 3/4 of our HP, and that's just on the 26 tyrannical. If you do this one on like a 28-29, it's like 90% of your HP. So if you've taken any damage of that random damage that does go out, then you're going to be in big trouble. Now, the tank is just aiming the brute at the boxes, and every time that he knocks Rocket Spark down off the boxes, we're focusing our damage onto Rocket Spark there. But otherwise, we're just chasing the brute around, and then when they get to like 10% HP, the Rocket Spark stops jumping onto the boxes. He just jumps and flies around the room, so we can always catch up on damage there, even though it's a little bit of a wild goose chase, which kind of sucks. But you just want to be maximizing your damage as much as you can. If you can get a meta onto both of them, keep up your Sinful Brands on both of them, that's huge, because your dots can still tick when he's up on the boxes. So if you can get a nice little extension on a double Sinful Brand, then that will actually be really good. That's something that I didn't maximize on this pull, but something that I'll try and do in the future. And as you see our rogue going down there, I think he got clipped by the charge, even though he was behind the boss. In these Warlords dungeons, a couple of the hitboxes are pretty janky. I don't fully trust them, especially stuff in like Iron Docks. They got some really weird frontals, which aren't really frontals. Again, at the end of this dungeon as well, there's some trash mobs with some kind of weird frontal / AoE mechanics. It's kind of weird. I'll talk about those when we get to them. So same thing again and again, really. We're just making sure to stay on top of explosives, dodge that mad dash. If you're in, if you're at all worrying, just take a little step back as I did there. And yeah, we're gonna eventually get Rocket Spark down to like 10%, 15% or something, at which point she stops going up on the boxes. And then we have this brute just go in rage as he slams, and it almost kills us. We need to now kill it before that next slam, because if he does do a slam when it's in rage, it's 100% going to wipe you. So that was a bit risky of us. We should have probably stopped our DPS and balanced out a little more just to be safe. And we had 2 deaths going up this little ramp thing, which is kind of weird. I think there was some explosives spawned out of line of sight of us or something, so like right at the top, I think. And then there was those swirlies on the ground. They actually do start to hurt quite a little bit for the environmental damage. I mean, it is the bombardiers doing them, so on fortified they're going to hurt more. Once you've pulled them, I think they stop throwing those grenades out. But yeah, we kind of did a slow pull, because last time our tank walked out of range of the first bombardier, and he just turned around and he slapped our rogue in the face, even though the tank had aggro. So that's just something to watch out for as well. And once those are both pulled, I end up just using my meta here just to get these mobs down quick, because they do have a lot of HP. And then we can start onto the train cart section of the dungeon. But yeah, these mobs, they literally do nothing. They're just target dummies. Once you've pulled them, just watch out in this kind of like mini gauntlet kind of thing, that you're not getting hit by those swirlies on the ground. Just take your time, and you'll get there eventually. The timer on this key is very lenient. We had some messy pulls, some silly deaths and things, and we still had quite a lot of time left at the end. So be super safe. The only dangerous parts of this key, in my opinion, at least on Tyrannical, are the first boss and the last boss. Even on Fortified, the last boss is super annoying. First boss on Fortified, pretty simple. And most of the trash is pretty okay. There isn't actually that much trash in the key, so you can actually just pull like pack by pack. Maybe a double pull here and there, and you should be good. So now moving into the train cart then. This first pack, not really too much to do, just making sure we're staying on top of explosives. And we have 2 of these gunners. We're going to be like copy pasting mobs now for the rest of the dungeon. We got gunners, which do like a frontal, so the tank just makes sure he faces those away from us. We've got obviously an infiltrator, which we all know by now what they do, so just watch out for those mechanics. And the infantries, they don't really do that much, so you can throw some stuns onto the gunners if you want. although it's not that lucrative because the tank can just sidestep. As long as he's facing the frontal of the shrapnel blast away from you guys, then he can just sidestep it, or even just tank it if he's a blood DK, because he can just heal it all back up. And then we're moving on to the next pack, which actually has a Cinder Seer. Now this mob is quite important. It's going to do a cast called Flame Tongue. You need to stun that one, or you can imprison it, or the tank can grip it, or anything like that. Just make sure that someone gets a CC on that. So as a Demon Hunter, you do want to throw a Fellow Eruption or a Cage on that one, and then it won't recast that Flame Tongue cast for a long time. Now the Flame Tongue is the big fire patch on the ground. So if you can stop that going off, it means you don't really have to move the pack. If that cast does go through, big flame patch on the ground, especially on Fortified, really annoying, because you don't really have much space in these train carts anyway. So just make sure that you get that one, otherwise you're going to have to move. It's going to be really annoying, and you're probably going to take a load of damage. And other than that, the Grenadiers, they just throw a grenade on people, so you got to kind of spread out a few yards, or it's going to cleave you as it did just there, where it hit all three of us as a DPS, because we're all melee DPS. And then this next pack, we actually focus the Grenadier. So we're focusing the Grenadier just because he does that big bomb, and it really does hurt. This is on Tyrannical, and it did like 2/3 of our health collect, to each of us. So if you do just spread out slightly, as you saw there, it just hits the tank and no one else, which is quite nice. It says Shockwave on me, I think. Oh no, that's the Shrapnel Blast. And then the Gunners, as I said, they don't really do much. The Infantry does absolutely nothing. Infantry, sorry. But yeah, just get those Grenadiers down. I'd say the prio kind of target order on these train carriages is Cinder Seer, Grenadier, Cinder Seer, Hulk, Grenadier, and then probably Boomers, because they do turn around and do a frontal, and then probably the Gunners, and then Infantry at last. So we actually double pulled this by accident. I think it was a mass script that pulled something in. We weren't really 100% sure what happened here. We didn't mean to double pull this, and now you see the fire patch has gone on the ground, so it's getting a little bit chaotic now. We just wanted to go pack by pack, but now we've ended up doing 8 mobs. So I ended up throwing my Metamorphosis on here to just get my Sinful Brands up and stuff, and we're just kind of going ham. Trying to get the Cinder Seer down, it's quite hard with the camera angles and getting lost in the nameplates, plus explosives, and there's frontals going off. So yeah, don't double pull this unless you're like, really committed to it and you've planned it all out and stuff. Then I think it's probably doable. Like we didn't have too much trouble with it. It was kind of fine. I think maybe a couple of us might have died towards the end of the pull, but in general it was kind of fine. Just make sure you do get that Cinder Seer, otherwise you're gonna have to like kite back and move out that fire like we did here. But yeah, the Hulk can also be soothed, so our rogue can shiv that the enrage off, and the hunter can also trank shot the enrage off. If you have a druid as well, they can soothe it. But yeah, this pull didn't actually turn out to be too bad, so we got some damage out. We obviously got big AoE classes in the hunter and things. We actually 3 people went down there, so that kind of sucked at the end. But tank survived, and overall probably a time save, or at least not a time loss, because we did do 2 packs in one, so not the end of the world. But if you are not prepared for that, that could definitely be a bit rocky. I've seen tanks pull all 3 packs in here in once, but we did 1 and 2. You could do 1, 1, 1, and that's fine. And now we're at the second boss, and that's pretty much all the trash for the dungeon done, except for the last boss stream, which you obviously have to clear. So this boss, super simple. It's basically just a time sink. You can't really speed the fight up, which kind of sucks. So this one is pretty much like just takes a set amount of time, which is really annoying, just to get the guy out of the cannon. So what we do here is you actually do need to spread out. He does the same mechanic as the Grenadiers and the Boomers. So he has that Blackrock Mortar where he turns at someone and he throws out a frontal in a line. So if he turns and does Blackrock Mortar, you just move out from in front of him, and he'll throw like a series of grenades in a line, as he does it right here. So just move out of that. And then then you want to spread back out. As you see, we're kind of spread in like short range, maybe like 2-3 yards from each other. And that's because of the Blackrock Grenade. He'll just turn and he'll throw that on people without warning. It's not a front or anything. He'll just do it on people. So you can't really dodge that one. So just make sure that you are spread out for that one, so it doesn't end up cleaving 2 of you. As you saw, it just hit the hunter there. And basically you get this guy down to 60%, and then he's going to jump away and go into a cannon. So this bit is basically just target dummy. Then he's going to jump away, and you wait for the train walls to collapse. And now we get onto the, in my opinion, boring part. I mean, I could see it. It looks kind of cool if it's your first time. but you see the eyes above my head, that means I'm fixated. So I'm actually just going to chill back here and wait for a minute and just chill at the side and just wait for the cannon to shoot. It suppressive fires you for like 10 seconds, which is really annoying because you just got to stand there doing nothing for 10 seconds. And you just want to be cleaving down any mobs that you can. Now, the boomers are quite high priority because if you kill the boomers, they're going to drop their rocket launcher on the ground. And when you pick up the rocket launcher, you can actually jump into the cannon and fire a mortar at the boss. Now, as you can see, the hunter and the rogue are doing tons and tons of damage on the damage meter. It kind of breaks the overall damage for this dungeon, to be honest, at least on my details, because mine takes the damage from this fight and puts it into overall. So the overall does get a bit scuffed at the end, to be honest. As you can see, before this boss, we're pretty even, 30, 25, and 23. So honestly, DH not trailing too far behind. And we actually had the cannon go on the rogue here, and he said he vanished it, but he still had the skull marker on him, so I think it was actually still shooting at him. And he actually does go down here. So we didn't res him because we don't really need the damage on this fight. As I said, it's basically over once you get to this double boomer pack spawning here. You want to get 3 homing shells, which is the ammunition from the boomer. You'll get 3 of those onto the cannon and you should be good. And here I'm in a bit of trouble because I'm hiding away at the back of the train. I should just nether walk this, to be honest. I tried to cage it and then that didn't work. It got broken, so then I tried to stun it. And that, you know, only kept me alive for a second and it's still whacking away at me, and I actually go down here. So I opted to, I said res the rogue. I just called on comms, res the rogue instead of me, because he does a little bit more than me. He can misdirect mobs as well and stuff like that. So I think it was the better call. As you can see, the cannon is just blasting all the mobs right now. So gunners, when they die, you can pick up their shrapnel, get into a cannon, and it just like completely destroys all the boss mobs. The boomers, when they die, you can pick up the homing shell, you target the boss, and then you shoot the cannon. That's the number 2 on your action button. And then you want to be keeping some shrapnel for the actual boss himself. Once you kill the cannon, he's on 0% here. It's just like 30k damage, so I just said target the cannon, kill the cannon. I'm also calling explosives, so I'm kind of like raid leading from the floor POV here. I'm being like a 21st man raid leader right here. You get the boss out of the cannon when it's dead, and then you just tank him, as you see here, between the 2 cannons. If you tank him like equidistant between 2 cannons, we have the hunter in one and the rogue in the other, and they're just using their shrapnel from the mobs. You see he gets out here to pick up more shrapnel, and then he gets back in, and you just kill the boss with all the shrapnel that you have like stacked up on the ground. So he's just between the 2 mobs. You see his health is just getting absolutely annihilated. This is a tyrannical boss, and you saw the first phase, it took us quite a while to get him to 60%. So if you don't use the shrapnel, it'll just take you a longer time. But if you just leave all that shrapnel from the gunners' corpses on the ground, pick it all up, and then just tank the boss between the 2 cannons, and you just kill him with the shrapnel, and it's super quick. And you see those guys at like 80k and 60k DPS on the fight, and the rogue was even dead for a while. So that kind of screws up the overall. As you can see, I've massively fallen behind on the damage meter for overall damage now. So let's just take the DPS as up to that room, which I'd say DH was doing pretty good, to be honest. Anyway, make sure you don't die on this next part of the train. It's just like a little dodge. You just got to wait and be patient. Don't stand in the fire. If you stand in the fire, you get a massive dot on you, which will kill you, by the way. So just make sure you're not greedy with that. And then we're going to be pulling the last cart in a couple pulls. These seers are really, really dangerous. They need 2 interrupts on the rotation for this lightning shield. You just want to be interrupting lightning shield, alternating 2 people on that one, and then the thunder zone will target a player and put a thunder zone on the ground. It doesn't tell you which player it targets. So what we do is we stack all in front of it, and then as soon as we see the thunder zone cast, we just move through the mob to stack behind him, and then we stack up on the tank, and then the next thunder zone will walk through the mob again. So that's how we handle the seers. Then you've got an infiltrator here as well, so we just want to do that one because it's got an annoying frontal. We don't want to be running around the train and all that stuff, so we just take the infiltrator. You could probably pull more mobs than this, to be honest, but we've got loads of time. We've got 10 minutes. So we're just like, let's play it safe as a 26. Take the infiltrator down, you know, so we don't have to deal with the sleep clouds and the frontal and stuff while we're fighting the captain. The captain is quite dangerous, and it's the next mob we're going to take. And yeah, the captain is, he's got this ability called the Reckless Slash, which is not a frontal. It's like an AoE around it. It has like a 1 second or 1.5 second cast time. You just want to be dashing away from that. There is a weak aura I will link down below as well in the comment section, sorry, in the description of like all the frontals and all the Shadowlands Season 4 dungeons. So this Reckless Slash, you just want to move out. As you see, the rogue goes down to it there. Again, you need to be interrupting the Seer with the, you need to be dodging that Thunder Zone on the ground, otherwise you're going to get debuff, as I did just there. And I almost go down, so I actually had to throw a health potion. Then the Reckless Slash, got to move out of melee because it does like a, I don't know, like 5 yards all around the captain. So you just got to be watching the captain's cast bar, moving out for the Reckless Slash, and interrupting, kicking the Seer while dodging the lightning clouds on the ground. So yeah, it's quite a lot. I actually took the Reckless Slash there because someone was yelling shockwave on me and like slash say, and I went over the cast bar so I can actually see it. I didn't have the weak aura at this time, but I have linked it, as I said, down in the description. I got that weak aura after we finished this dungeon. There's the Reckless Slash. You see the animation for it. It's quite a big AoE around it. But again, we have loads of time, so the rogue's just running back, so we're keeping the combat res for the actual boss, because the next boss can be kind of dicey. We don't want to be, you know, caught off guard. We want to have a res just in case for that boss. And these loaders, they also do nothing. They sometimes do like little swirlies on the ground. We did some testing. The little like purple swirlies that come on the ground during some of this trash, these swirlies do nothing pretty much. They do like 5k damage. So you can probably tank those if you got to make a decision between taking a thundercloud or a swirly. Always take the swirly. The thundercloud does a lot of damage. The swirly does pretty much nothing. The seers are very, very dangerous, and the captain is very dangerous. But other than that, none of the mobs really do too much on this platform. And then we got the last boss, the final boss, on Tyrannical. Now this one is pretty hard. It's pretty simple in theory, but it can get out of hand quite quickly. So we're gonna save Bloodlust. We're gonna Bloodlust on pull. We're gonna go as nuts as we can at the start. And basically what we're doing is looking for the traps. We have a trap there on the hunter, and we just want to move away from the traps. You really need to be watching out for those traps. They come out quite quick. They arm quite quickly. And then you just want to be using defensives for that initial hit on the dragon. So every time the boss yells, light him up, or another one, or get him Rakul, or whatever she says, right? You want to pop like a blur if you have it. I actually darkness this one for the pre-initial damage. We actually get really bad RNG and not a single dodge on the darkness. And then you just want to be moving away from the traps. And obviously you can see now they've added an indicator for where that breath is going to come down. You want to be moving out of those swirlies to not get the dot when it comes down. So you have a little bit of time to move before the lightning on the ground activates. And honestly, if you ever have to choose between staying on the boss and doing damage or getting to a safe spot and surviving, always take the surviving option, because as you can see, we have loads of time. Surviving is going to be way more important here than doing some damage. So even sometimes you can just move completely out of range if your tank goes opposite direction to you. Kind of sucks, but you know, if you've just got to stand AFK for like 5-10 seconds, it's fine to do that. You've also got Door of Shadows. If you do get separated from your tank for any reason, you could maybe Door of Shadows over the lightning to get to the other side of the train if you find yourself out of position or anything like that. And one thing I haven't talked about yet is the spinning spear. Every single time the breath comes overhead from the dragon, she's also going to do a spinning spear. You've got to really be looking at the boss. You can zoom your camera in. This spear is like a straight one shot, especially on Tyrannical. And yeah, we're just calling like towards front of train, side of train, back of train, so that we can decide, you know, we can all see where it's going. So just make sure that one's going to the side, you see. Just make sure you're dodging that spear. That one is going to be the one that's probably going to catch you off guard more than the traps. And we also have obviously people in this group that can soak traps. We've got Turtle from the hunter, we've got Cloak from the rogue. So if you find yourself there's a spear there and moving out of, the hunter has his turtle up now, so we're moving away from the trap because it does like a little AoE when you pop it. So if someone does want to soak the traps up, the rest of the group needs to move away from the traps, so the hunter or the rogue or whatever, he can cloak, run through the traps, or turtle, run through the traps. And here, you know, you see we're getting to safety, prioritizing getting to safety, and then the boss will come to us. The tank is actually making an effort to come to the DPS. So if he runs one way and the DPS runs another, he will just run through the lightning cloud and bring the boss over to us, because he can obviously take that hit much easier than we can. And he can just heal it back up with Death Strike, right? So if we all go down to one end of the train where we think it's easiest to get to and he goes to another, then we just wait AFK for like 5 seconds while he brings the boss back to us. But yeah, just watch out for the traps. If you get a trap near you, move away from it. If you do want to soak the traps, Make sure that people are away from them beforehand. You could soak it with Nether Walk, but you could only soak one because you'll get rooted anyway. So leave that to like hunters, rogues, and things like that. And then just dodge the spinning spear. The spinning spear is probably the most important thing to dodge. Here, you know, see, I double jumped. I went over and I health potioned because I actually got caught in the lightning. Sometimes the lightning does just come down at a point where you kind of screwed up. Like sometimes it just feels like you have absolutely nowhere to go. But yeah, just remember that you can double jump, fell rush over the traps and things like that if you do kind of feel out of position and things. So it's just better to survive. This boss is all about surviving, and as you see, we still have 3 minutes left because that was actually kind of clean for the boss. I've definitely seen much messier last bosses. Don't fall off the train. Don't fell rush off the train, okay? I've done that once and I will never do it again. We had our hunter disengage off the train one time as well. We've had our healer drop off the train when there used to be a safe spot before they telegraphed that animation and things. Just be safe, okay? Be safe with this. Don't mess around and you'll have loads of time, because otherwise you'll have your tank or blood decay or whatever you run with soloing the boss for like 5 minutes, and it just takes a long time. So if you don't have that time to spare, you're gonna lose out there. Yeah, there we go. That's my 27-28 rating as well. I think this one got me rank 10 DH in the world, this key, which is kind of nice. I've never been this highly rated on Radar.io or anything like that. So currently sitting at around like rank 10 or 12, I think now, because I went to bed, so I lost some ranks. But yeah, pretty good. I don't know if I show my overall, but I'll put it up on screen for you if I do. Obviously, I said it's a bit scuffed because of the shrapnel cannons and things like that. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the key. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. Again, I can't stress this enough. Just play super safe on the last boss, especially on Tyrannical, but just in general. And the first boss is pretty rough. So Netherwalk, that first not the first slam, but the slam in the first intermission. And after that, you should be good. So make sure that you tell your group as well if they've got, you know, immunities, defensives, and things. Use it on the slam during the first intermission when he's up on the boxes, and you should be golden after that. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I've got loads of different commentaries up on my channel if you want to check some of those out, and I got a full Mythic Plus guide coming out pretty soon. I'm writing at the moment today as I record this video, so stay tuned for that one. Feel free to subscribe and all that. But until next time, guys, have a great day, and as always, peace.